Good morning, everyone, and Shavua Tov. In this week's Torah portion, amongst the many commandments, there's a commandment to be compassionate and sensitive, specifically to the widow and the orphan. The Torah says never offend or oppress a widow or an orphan. And then the Torah says, because if oppress you shall oppress, aneh taneh, the widow or the orphan, Sa'ok yitzak, cry, they will cry out to me. And then shamoa eshma, hear, I will hear their cry, and I will answer their cry by bringing punishment upon the person that offends and hurts and oppresses the widow or the orphan. And the Kosher Rabbi asks, why is everything repetitive in this verse? That if you offend or oppress the widow or the orphan, cry, they will cry, hear, I will hear, and then I will answer their cry. Why the repetition? And the Kosher Rebbe says that when you hurt any person and you offend them, they cry out to Hashem. But when you oppress a widow or an orphan, there's the pain of the offense, but then there's a double pain. And that is because the widow says to herself, if my husband was alive, they wouldn't treat me this way. The orphan says to themselves, if my mother or my father was here, they wouldn't do this to me. And furthermore, they wonder, if my husband was alive, what would he do? He would be here to help me and protect me. Or the orphan says, if my father or my mother was alive, they would comfort me, they would console me, they would protect me and defend me. And so therefore there's a second dimension and layer of offense and oppression to the widow or the orphan. And therefore the Torah says, if afflict you will afflict, the widow or the orphan, cry they will cry. It's a double crying out, and therefore respond, I will listen twice to the double pain. And as I read this verse, I thought about the fact that in Israel, since the Yom Kippur War, there's never been so many widows and orphans in the Holy Land of Israel. So many children without parents, so many wives without husbands. And so therefore this verse speaks to us now more than ever before, which means that more than ever, we have to show love and comfort and strength to the Jewish people in Israel. And if God hears the pain of the widow and the orphan, surely God hears the gratitude and the joy and the comfort of the widow or the orphan. And if God says I will bring punishment on those who oppress the widow and the orphan, surely there will be double blessing for those who comfort and bring strength to the widows and the orphans. Because God says, I am the father of the orphans. I am the judge for the widows. And God takes up the cause of the widows and the orphans. And so therefore, there will be a double blessing from Hashem for those who care about the widows and the orphans. Today there's a big barbecue, a kosher competition. 12 teams flew in on Lantana Road at the German-American Club. I encourage everyone to come to celebrate Jewish life. There will be Jewish music, lot kosher barbecue, a celebration, because as Jews we have to come together more than ever before during these times and show unity and love. And there was a young woman who called me before Shabbat. She was at the Nova Music Festival. Her name is Milit Bar Chaim, and she told me the remarkable story how she was rescued by two individuals who risked their lives. One was Rami Davidian, and the other one tragically died, Leon Bar, who rescued her and her friends, and now she's a survivor. And she's tormented by the memories and the images of what she witnessed and experienced after hiding 6 hours in a bush, crying and praying to God, holding hands with her friends that she should survive, and miraculously she survived. And she's traveling around the world now to tell the story of those who cannot speak anymore because they were murdered on October 7th. And I invited her to come to the barbecue today, and she'll be speaking sometime between 12 and 1, and I encourage everyone to come, not just for the barbecue, but to show solidarity with this young woman. But something she said to me that really touched me was, she said that the strongest emotion that she's been feeling since October 7th is not fear. The strongest emotion she's been feeling is love. She says, I feel such a love for life itself, such a love for my family, such a love for Israel, such a love for the Jewish people, such a love for the outpouring of kindness of all the people who are helping me on my journey to deal with the trauma of what I experienced on October 7th. I've never felt so much love in my heart for others, for the Jewish people, for Israel, for my family, and for my very life itself. That's the feeling we have to celebrate. Our unity, our love for one another. That is the only comfort for the widows and the orphans. And therefore, more than ever before, may God send blessing to the Jewish people and the merit of all the love that we are sharing with each other. Have a